loves, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Joy, and guys, we have what looks like a breaking story. Apparently, Biden's donors have frozen 90 million in donations, which is huge. Now, during the debate, he said when people had talked about this and how people were upset with him, what's he going to do with donors? He said that at the moment he still has 220 million. But what does that mean for him? And furthermore, with how horribly his campaign has been run, and it seems like his whole life has been running at this point, the fact that he's not in charge of it, and with how awful we are with inflation, how high everything is, could we even really trust him to deal with those funds in any way so he can sustain his campaign? Because guys, when those funds dry up, when he has no donors, there's no campaigning. Now, technically, he can still campaign, but how? So let's go ahead, let's dive in. And guys, if you like information news like this, make sure and subscribe, hit that notification bell. Also, sound off in the comments. Tell me what you think about this. Like this video, and let's go ahead and dive in. So it says, donors to pro-Biden super PAC are said to withhold roughly 90 million. The decision to withhold such enormous sums of money is one of the most concrete examples of the fallout of President Biden's poor debate performance at the end of June. And of course, that still continues because, as you guys know, you followed me and you've been watching this story, that we also had the press conference, which it was hilarious. It was either boring or hilarious because he would just drone on and on and on and get lost and answer the question, but then he would just do his Bidenisms and stumble and stutter and not say the right things, forget what he's doing, and almost pick his nose. I hope, it's my dream that by the end of this we get a nose pick. We get a public nose pick, I hope. So it says, some major Democratic donors have told the largest pro-Biden super PAC, Future Forward, that pledges worth roughly 90 million are now on hold if President Biden remains atop the ticket, according to two people who have been briefed on the conversations. The frozen contributions include multiple eight-figure commitments, according to two people who spoke on the condition of anonymity, given the sensitivity of the situation. The decision to withhold such enormous sums of money is one of the most concrete examples of the fallout from Mr. Biden's poor debate performance at the end of June. Now, here's what's interesting. I'm not quite sure how these donations work and these pledges, but I know a lot of times you can pledge some money somewhere, but it doesn't mean you've given it yet. It just means basically you've promised to. So when he says we've raised 220 million, when we talk about all these pledges, when these things are talked about, is this money he actually has right now in his hand, or was this money promised to him and now they're withholding those funds? So let's go ahead and continue. It says, Future Forward declined to comment on any conversations with donors or the amount of any pledge money being withheld. A Future Forward advisor would say only that the group expected contributors who had paused donations to return once the current uncertainty about the ticket was resolved. Separately, one donor to the group described being approached multiple times by Future Forward since the debate for contributions, but said he and his friends had been holding off, which makes sense. I think a lot of people at this point are holding off. Now, Biden likes to tote, we have 220 million. That mostly came from regular people, which means regular people gave me around $200. He always quotes this, but then he's quoted so many different facts and so many different, he'll get like mixed up thousands, millions, billions, trillions. I can't really guarantee that's what he's saying. And it's so funny. At this point, I feel like if you've been really watching, he just hammers the same points he's memorized over and over again. And the sad thing is, I don't think he realizes it's not convincing anybody of anything. So I have a hard time believing all that. But it says, separately, one donor to the group described being approached multiple times by Future Forward, but they're holding off. The two people briefed on the frozen pledges declined to say which individual donors were pulling back promised checks, which were estimated to total around or above 90 million. It was not clear how much of the pledged money was earmarked for Future Forward's super PAC versus its nonprofit arm, which has also been running advertising in key battleground states. Wow, so it sounds like a lot of this just has to do with people who are funding the advertising efforts directly. Not that they were doing much. I mean, what were they doing? They were running around saying, I'm not going to vote for a felon, which completely spits in the face of all the stuff the left has been saying about prison reform and let's let criminals roam free. They're not bad people. Don't judge people on their record. And yet we're not going to vote for a felon, says the same guy whose son is a felon for way worse crimes than what Trump allegedly did. So ridiculous. So, it says the two people briefed on the frozen pledges declined to say which individual donors were pulling back promised checks, which were estimated about 90 million. It says an aide to one major future forward donor, the billionaire Reid Hoffman, who had given $7 million to the super PAC, said that donors were making a mistake in withholding the money. A fund freeze is a problematic strategy at this point in the election cycle, said Ray Stewart, who works for Mr. Hoffman's political group. If donors are committed to making a statement by withholding capital from Future Forward or from the Biden campaign, she said, then they should make larger donations to progressive nonprofit groups that are agnostic about who is at the top of the ticket. So basically, keep giving money. Keep giving us money is what I'm hearing. It says, Ms. Stewart said that Mr. Hoffman had donated $3 million more to Super PAC last month before the debate. The cash freeze comes as some advisors around Mr. Biden are discussing how to persuade the president to exit the race, as his campaign has begun to test Vice President Kamala Harris in head-to-head surveys of voters against former President Donald J. Trump. The number of congressional Democrats calling for Mr. Biden to step away is growing by the day. The potential shortfall in Super PAC cash comes as the campaign itself is bracing for a rough July fundraising period as major donors question Mr. Biden's viability to win in November. In a news conference on Thursday evening, Mr. Biden dug in. I believe I'm the best qualified to govern, he said, and I think I'm the best qualified to win. Future Forward was anointed by Mr. Biden's campaign as leading super PAC in the early stages of the 2024 race, and it has already announced $250 million in television and digital advertisement reservations set to begin at the end of the Democratic National Convention next month. A leaked poll from a group closely linked with Future Forward after the debate showed that the super PAC had tested the strength of potential Biden alternatives, including Ms. Harris, Governor Gavin Newsom of California, Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, and Peter Buttigieg, the transportation secretary. The poll showed that Mr. Biden had worse overall favorability rating than the other alternatives. The group convened donors just before the debate in a discussion on the state of its fundraising and the race, according to two people who attended the briefing. Officials with the group told donors that between the super PAC and the nonprofit arm, they hope to raise $700 million or more for the election. Can you imagine $700 million, what that could do for us or for the whole country? It just makes you sick when you hear that much, just so they can run around and lie to us and gaslight us about how great he's doing and how fine he is. They want to raise $700 million or more for the election and collected $430 million at that point. Just knowing that that's how much money will be wasted on these gaslighting liars. So there's a few things I can see here. I mean, we already know the rhetoric and what's being said right now about Biden and his horrible performances. So I could understand people wanting to hold off there. However, news is starting to leak that they are testing Kamala Harris and other people to be the president. And it looks like, as we know, Kamala Harris is kind of the front runner for that ticket for several reasons. So I would say a couple things. Number one, if the donors are not there, it will automatically push him out if he's not too stubborn. But number two, if donors are seeing all this and they know that other people are being tested and everybody is calling for him to quit, doesn't it make sense that they would want to keep their money? Because there is some discrepancy here. There's some discrepancy on what could happen to his funds. Now, allegedly, if he steps down and Kamala goes in, allegedly the money goes to her. But depending on the circumstance of how he steps down, all the money that's been raised so far could be gone, which is a whole nother issue. So I could see definitely why donors would look at that and say, we don't want to give any more money to that sinking ship. It will all just depends on how this goes, which why it looks like if anybody was going to go in there, it would be Kamala. Now, Biden has been saying, and his team have been saying, there's still a chance, there's still a shot. And apparently in the polls, they think that there is still time for him to ramp this up and win. The problem is every time he shows himself and he opens his mouth, he makes it worse and worse for himself. Every single time. He was supposed to have an off-the-cuff press conference where it was just going to be taking questions and no prompters. Well, he had 2 prompters on the side from what we saw, and he let it slip that there was a list of people that day that he was going to call on. He knew the list and allegedly knew the questions. Now, maybe not the one at the end about what happened with Trump and him calling, Harris Trump, which was really funny. He didn't actually know that that was going to happen because that happened as one of his gaffes at the moment. But I'm just looking at this and thinking, this makes total sense. But here's the question. Even if funding runs out, is he going to be so stubborn that he will continue the race anyway? Is he just going to basically do it on live streams and Zoom calls? Is he going to get into his own money? I don't think, if they're looking for 700 million-ish, I don't think he's got even nearly close to that. I don't think he has enough wealthy friends, even he could cash in favors or would believe in him to do that. But I could see him being so stubborn, he would just try to do some grassroots thing anyway because he really thinks he's in the right. The question is, does he really believe he's in the right and that he can win because that's what he believes? Or are people delusional around him as well and pumping him full of this stuff? I don't know. What do you guys think about this? Is this the end for Biden? Tell me your thoughts, guys. Sound off in the comments. If you like content like this, make sure and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Also like this video. Everything helps. And guys, with that, I'm just going to keep you up to date on everything. All right, till the next one, guys. I'm giving you all hugs. Mwah, kisses. Stay safe, and I will see you soon. Bye.